Good evening again to everyone. Welcome to our meeting. Could you all please react to show that you can hear what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Please react if you can hear what I'm saying. Okay, thank you so much. Blessing, thank you so much, Kudakwashe. I hope you're all hearing me. So before we start, could you all please turn off your microphones? And if you can, please turn on your cameras so we can see you to make the meeting more lively and interactive. All right, thank you so much to those who turned on the videos. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our meeting organized by the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society. The purpose of this meeting is to provide guidance to the prospective class of 2030 on how to apply for the Actuarial Science program at the University of Zimbabwe, how to navigate the interview process and the psychometric tests, and to altogether increase your chances of getting admitted. We are also going to be giving you an overview of the Actuarial Science program at the University of Zimbabwe, the department and the faculty we are in, and also a brief description of what our industry is like, the actuarial industry, as well as the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society itself. All right, can you all hear me? Okay, so we have organized for you a panel of speakers who are all very knowledgeable. I'm going to be introducing them shortly. So as for now, I'd like to remind you that as our speakers are going to be speaking, it's important that if you have anything that you'd like to ask, any question you'd like to ask, or any area or topic you'd like the speaker to touch more on, you are free to put that in the comments. Then also, you cannot interject as the speaker is speaking. Please give them time to speak. They will be speaking for about 15 to 20 minutes, I think 10 to 15 minutes, in fact. After that, we can open the floor to you guys for you to ask your questions. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So as I said, we have 4 speakers for you tonight. We have, first off, we're going to be having Gilbert Undenge. Gilbert is a final year student at the University of Zimbabwe. He served in the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society Board for 3 years, being vice president in his last 2 terms. He is also founder of the MGU Foundation, which is an organization that provides guidance, career guidance, and support to aspiring actuaries like yourselves. So the prospective class of 2030. So he's someone who is very much into this whole idea of assisting students, aspiring actuaries, in fact, and helping them navigate their careers. So I'm going to be giving the floor now to Gilbert Undenge, who is going to be talking about the Actuarial Science, the Bachelor of Science honors degree in Actuarial Science at the University of Zimbabwe. He's also going to be covering the high school requirements, the subjects that you need at A level for you to get admitted or for you to get a chance of getting admitted. He's also going to be covering the passes you need. And finally, he's going to be covering professional exams. So as some of you may know, as A-level graduates, for you to become an actuary, you have to pass a series of professional exams. I won't go into much detail over that. Gilbert will be doing that. So over to you, Mr. Gilbert, and welcome to our meeting.
Right. Good evening. Thanks, Brenton. Please confirm if you can hear me. All right. Thank you so much. So, as introduced, I'm Gilbert Tadianashe Undenge, currently doing my final year in Actuarial Science here at UZ, and I'm a member of the UZ Actuarial Society as well. I've managed to serve on the leadership board, and I've had quite a number of engagements with different organizations, currently also a member of the Global Shapers Harare Hub. Graduated from the Naraj Mentorship Program, Shasha Network Program, Aspire Leaders Program as well. So that's a little bit about me. Right, so everybody, welcome to the meeting. We hope that it's going to be informative to you. After this, we hope that you're going to be having all the confidence that you need to pick actuarial science as an area of study here at the UZ. So I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about high school requirements for you to get enrolled into the program here at the UZ. Then I'm also going to talk about how the program is structured here at the UZ. Then I'm also going to talk about the professional exams. So first things first, I think the first thing that you need to know is that for one to become an actuary, it's not about the degree, right? So you need the professional exams. The professional exams are what certify you as an actuary at the end of the day. So that's the last part I'm going to touch on. So without wasting much of your time, let's just dive right into it. So in terms of the high school requirements here, they use that maybe just a bit of background. So the Actuarial Science program is housed under the Department of Maths and Computational Sciences, which is under the Faculty of Science. So the major requirement that they need is mathematics, right? So it doesn't matter the other subjects that you would have done. You could be coming from a sciences background, you could be coming from a commercials background, but the most important thing is that you've got mathematics, right? And then you need to make sure that all these other subjects, they've got A's, because it's quite a highly competitive program to get into with very low enrollment rates. So that's the first thing I'm going to touch on, and also maybe just a bit of background as well. What is actuarial science? We've been just talking about actuarial science. Actuarial science, I can't really dive into the program before we sort of like demystify what it is about. So basically, actuaries are professionals who use mathematics, statistics to identify and find ways to mitigate financial risks. So you'll find them working in insurance, you'll find them working in banking, and of late they've also been getting into wider fields, talk about data science, talk about climate risk, and all the likes. So basically, that's what an actuary does. So now I've touched on the high school requirements. I talked about the subjects that you need. So you could be coming from a commercials background, you could be coming from a sciences background. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure you've got maths and make sure that all those other subjects, they're A's. Then after that, after you've applied, I'm pretty sure the application window is now open. So after you've applied, you're going to be invited for psychometric tests. Then you're going to be invited for interviews again. I think someone is going to touch on that. So I'm not going to delve into that. Then when it comes to the Actuarial Science program at the UZ, I've mentioned it's housed under the Department of Maths and Computational Sciences, which is under the Faculty of Science. So the program has got 4 years, third year being an internship year. So that's your industrial attachment here. You're going to be placed at a particular firm. That's where you're going to be working for the whole year. Then you come back for your final year. So in terms of the structure of the modules and how it's typically structured, you figure that the first 2 years, they are more of a general mathematics and statistics program, right? So you're going to be having a lot of mathematical modules, you're going to be having a lot of statistical modules. Then you also need to have an understanding of business and the economy at large, because at the end of the day, the risks, the financial risks that you're going to be identifying and quantifying and trying to mitigate, they're going to be coming from the financial services sector, right? So I mentioned you'll be working in insurance, you're going to be working in banking. So you actually need to get an understanding of how those companies, how those sectors how they're structured and how they operate. So you're going to be having quite a number of business and economics modules as you begin your first year and getting into your second year as well. So let me that you'd be having right from your first year. So from your first year, first semester, you're going to be doing, you have probability theory, you've got principles of microeconomics, you've got business accounting, you've calculus. Then you're also going to have some campus-wide modules which are not restricted to any department or faculty. Then getting into the second semester of your first year, you're going to do statistical inference, you're going to do regression analysis, linear maths and ordinary differential equations, principles of macroeconomics, then as well as some campus-wide modules too. Then getting into level 2, you're going to have theory of estimation and hypothesis testing, survey techniques and sampling theory. Then you're going to have corporate finance, meso finance as well. Then second semester, you're going to have time series analysis, multivariate methods, corporate finance, then actuarial methodology as well. Then your third year, like I mentioned, it's going to be your industrial attachment here. Then fourth year now, first semester, you're going to have life contingencies, financial economics, investments and asset liability management, financial engineering and capital markets. Then 4.2, you have stochastic processes, risk theory, health and care insurance. Then on top of that, in your final year, you're also going to be having your dissertation, which is typically your research project. So that's how the program is structured. The first 2 years, they are more into general mathematics, statistics, as well as business, so that you get a good understanding of how businesses operate, how corporates operate as well. Then third year, you go for your internship. Then final year, that's when it gets very actuarial. Now you're doing life insurance modules. You're going to be doing general insurance modules. You're going to be doing asset liability, stochastic processes, and the likes. So in terms of the structure of the program at the UZ, I would say in essence, that's how it is structured. Then we also do have the Actuarial Society here at the UZ, which is the one that organized this webinar for you. So probably someone is going to touch on that as well. But if you get enrolled here, I would definitely recommend that you become part of the society. Then the last thing I'm going to talk about are professional exams. So like I mentioned at the start, for one to become an actuary, you actually need the professional exams. They're what certify you to become an actuary. So the degree alone is not enough. It's just a pathway to becoming an actuary, right? So when it comes to the professional exams, we've got about 4 or 5 major boards that set those exams. Unfortunately, here in Zimbabwe, we do not have any. Rather, here in Africa, we only have one country that's got a board that sets professional exams, which is called Actuarial Society of South Africa. You find it there in South Africa. Then we also have the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, which is probably the oldest and the most popular. That one is from the UK. So you figure out that most people from Yensim, they register with that one. Then in India, there's also the Institute of Actuaries in India. Then we also have another one in the United States, Society of Actuaries. So basically, you'd have to pick which one you're going to register with. But for most people, Yensin, probably because of colonial ties, they would go with the IFOA, which is from the UK. So I'm going to touch on the IFOA, the exam structures and everything, because that's the one I'm registered with as well. So with the IFOA, to become a qualified actuary, with IFOA. So you need to pass 13 exams. It's going to be up to you if you're going to choose to start writing those exams before you graduate, or if you're going to start writing after you graduate. It really depends on how strong financially you are, and probably the time management, because you're going to be juggling 2 things at the same time. You've got modules here, the user, then you also have those professional exams, which are very difficult. I think I have to mention that, right? But they're manageable, but they are difficult. Then the 13 exams, the way they're structured, the first 7 exams into your mathematical concepts, your statistical concepts, as well as your business concepts. Then as we move from the 8th exam, that's when it becomes what they call higher level application. So how do that you're doing, how do you then communicate them? How do you then provide guidance and recommendations to the business through those numbers? Because at the end of the day, you're working probably in a corporate setup or maybe a consulting setup, but you do not work as actuaries alone. You've got someone coming from marketing, you've got the board, maybe someone is coming from law. They do not even understand anything about mathematics. So you do understand technical stuff and your mathematics, but you now have to communicate that to someone who's non-technical, who's non-mathematical. So those are high-level subjects. Essentially, that's what they then teach you. And then they also help you to then start specializing, because like I mentioned, actuaries can work in insurance, and we've got different types of insurance. We have life insurance, we have non-life insurance, we've got reinsurance as well. Then we also have actuaries working in pensions, we also have actuaries working in banking, investments, data science, and everything. So when the exams get higher, that's when you start specializing into your area of choice. So basically about the IFOA, that's it. So you just need 13 exams. The exams, they are written every single year, and there are 2 sittings every year. So there's an opening, there's an April window, and there's also a September window. So you can write in April, you can write in September. And after you complete those 13, you also need 2 years of experience to then become a qualified actuary. So basically, I would say that's it about the professional exams. So I've touched on everything I was supposed to touch on. I think questions are going to come at the end, or if they're going to come now, I'm not sure. Over to you, Brandon.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Gilbert. I think we can have the questions at the end of our session so that we can have everyone allow everyone enough time to speak. If this was a physical meeting, I would have told everyone to give us a round of applause. But you can always react with those emojis over there. Thank you so much, Mr. Gilbert. So to give an overview of what Gilbert was talking about, you can study or apply for the Actuarial Science program if you did commercials or sciences, as long as you had all A's in your combination, and especially if you had maths in that combination. Maths is a very important, it's a requisite subject. All right. Then you also talked about the modules that you studied, the UZ, and if you were listening, then you'd see that they mainly revolve around maths and statistics and a bit of finance and economics. So those subjects are really important if you want to become an actuary. Then lastly, you talked about professional exams and how they are important to becoming an actuary and the various boards that you can write those exams with. All right. So a quick reminder for those who will not be able to, who are not hearing or who may be facing challenges in attending this meeting, a copy of this meeting will be put on our YouTube channel. So feel free to go view it on our YouTube channel after the session is over. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Gilbert. We are now moving on to our next speaker, who is going to be Mr. Kupakwashe Madziva. Right. Mr. Kupakwashe Madziva is a current third-year student at the University of Zimbabwe. He has been part of the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society board for coming close to 2 years now. He previously served as the public relations officer, and he is currently the president of the UZ Actuarial Society. Mr. Kupakwashe is also currently attached at the Insurance and Pensions Commission of Zimbabwe, the IPEC. He's doing his attachment there. And I think, as you heard from Gilbert, one of the areas in which our actuaries work is insurance and pensions, as well as regulation as well. IPEC is the regulatory body which oversees insurance and pensions companies. And that is where Mr. Kupakwashe is learning right now. So over to you, Mr. Kupakwashe.
Okay, thank you, Britton. Is it good evening? Good evening, prospective students. So today my mandate is to speak on the state of the actuarial industry in Zimbabwe. You hear people speaking of, I think one of the most typical tropes that we have. I think maybe allow me to share my screen. I prepared a few slides for this. Yeah. So one of the tropes that you constantly hear about actuarial science is that actuarial science is a lot of money, right? So I think for most of us coming from A level, this is the thrust, this is the things we're told, but we're not really exposed to where do actuaries actually work and what do they do in those places. So in this presentation, I'm going to be touching on that. So firstly, my slide, the first page of my slide is titled The Zimbabwean Actuarial Industry. So the Zimbabwe actuarial industry has over the past 5 years grown. So previously we would have very few actuaries, very few qualified actuaries, with the likes of Mr. Hoto and the likes of Mr. Mureriwa, who qualified earlier, being prominent names who came out of the profession. So as we progressed, we grew in our numbers as a profession due to intakes partly by the University of Zimbabwe and also exposure within the industry. So firstly, actuarial science is a profession that is in transition. Why do I say that? It's a profession that is in transition because historically, actuaries worked with tables, we worked with long list of commutation functions, but given that we're living in a new age that is data-driven, we have to become actuaries that adapt to the changes. So it's a profession that's moving from a more mechanical way of doing things to a more technical way and a more modern way of operating. So we have actuarial modeling, which is something that I was actually previously engaged in during my internship at Clarkson Actuaries. So that's part of the transition as well. The actuarial profession in Zimbabwe has a professional body called the ASIT. The ASZ was established in 1993 and serves as the national professional body for actuaries. It plays a supporting role to us as the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society, and it also plays a supporting role to actuaries who are actually established in the industry. So I think today they actually, was it today or yesterday, they actually sent a newsletter um, where they disclose the changes that are happening in the industry and the changes that are happening within their entity. So I think for new students, I would encourage you after joining the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society to also become a member of the ASZ. There are so many opportunities that come out of it. The ASZ maintains relationships with the IFOA and ASA, ensuring that Zimbabwean actuaries meet global competency benchmarks. And then looking at our membership profile, I think I alluded to it earlier that the number of qualified actuaries and the number of students studying actuarial exams has grown exponentially in the few years before this. What does it mean for us? It means that there is recognition of the profession, even from fields that didn't traditionally recognize it. I think, as Gilbert earlier alluded to, we have growth of actuaries due to what are called wider fields. So I'll touch more on wider fields in the next slides. Traditional sectors for actuaries. For actuarial students and actuaries, we mainly work in the insurance sector, the pension sector, reinsurance, which is a part of insurance. We work in banks and we work in wider fields and regulation, of course. So, in life insurance, actuaries are responsible for, okay, I think maybe to make it more practical, life insurance companies that we have in Zimbabwe, we have Omlag, Old Mutual Life Assurance Company, we have Nyaradzo, we have Doves, which are all life insurance companies, despite being known more for their funeral products. So what actuaries do in those sectors is basically they calculate if someone is to die and they have a life policy, how much are we supposed to have, which are called reserves, how much are we supposed to keep on the side so that in the event that this person dies, we can pay their claim. Also, we are responsible for pricing. When you go to Nyaradzo and you go to Doves and they tell you, no, with your family, you're supposed to be paying $5 a month. That figure is not pulled out of thin air. It is a figure that has been calculated by actuaries using certain methods that you learn in your modules very soon. And then we work in pension funds. In pension funds, actuaries are responsible for managing rather, they are responsible for determining the liabilities of a pension fund. The liabilities of a pension fund are basically the money that is owed by the pension fund to members. So when you hear your grandparents or your parents speaking about my pension didn't come, my pension is undervalued, my pension is not sufficient, the people who determine that money, it's people like me, it's people like you. So that's our job as actuaries within pension funds. In consulting is basically a hybrid of both of these, which are the main industries that we have. In consulting, you are responsible for, you have your clients, right? For example, if you're a consultant, you could be working for CBZ, you could be working for FBC, you can be working. So they contract you. You're basically contracted to do a specific actuarial job. Whether you're required to calculate liabilities, you're required to set reserves. That's what you do in consulting. And then also, there's a field that is not mentioned on the slide that I alluded to. There's a field that is known as non-life insurance or general insurance. General insurance is what we have. I think it's probably the most common sector out of all of these in Zimbabwe. General insurance basically is your car insurance, your short-term insurance that lasts within a year. So when you go to Nichols Diamond and you want to insure your car, they'll ask you, they'll give you a price. They'll ask you how much do you value your car? They'll give you a price, they'll give you everything. That price that is set is determined by actuaries. And for the company not to make a loss, there is a lot of mathematics that goes on behind the scenes to actually calculate the price that will ensure that if someone's car crashes and they come to the insurance company and ask for their money, we have enough money to pay them. I think recently, if you've been following the news in this sector, there's been a pretty trendy topic. I think it has to do with Alliance Insurance Company, whereby their clients' factory or warehouse burnt, and they are now declining to pay the amount that they agreed to insure the building for. So in cases like that, you realize that an actuary might actually be at fault there as well, because the actuary is responsible for actually saying this risk, we need to actually also give it to someone else. So in the case of Alliance, they didn't share that risk with the reinsurer, which is why they are now fighting for their lives in court. So it also brings us to reinsurance. Reinsurance is a sector of insurance. You can be a composite reinsurer, whereby you reinsure life business, life insurance, or you can be a non-life reinsurer. Non-life reinsurer, it simply means that you are insuring an insurer. So what happens is, if I'm an insurance company and I'm insuring something like maybe EcoBank, right? I'm insuring them against theft, something like that. And I know that EcoBank just had a claim of 4 million. We just had 4 million stolen from them. But I know that my company is small and I can't afford it. I go to a bigger company like Old Mutual Insurance Company, Omiko, and I say, guys, I'll give you the premiums, the amount that these guys pay me for insurance, a certain percentage, and you guys, you take the risk. In the event that these guys actually want their money, you pay them their money, and I pay the remainder. So that's how insurance works. And then I also mentioned on wider fields, but I'll be touching on that towards the end, because I really feel that that's a pivotal sector. I don't know if you have any questions so far. I assume that's a no. So the insurance and pensions sector in Zimbabwe, which is the largest of it all, is overseen by IPEC, which is currently where I'm attached. So with the Insurance and Pensions Commission, there are actuaries who also work there. As I mentioned, that actuaries can work in regulation as well. The actuaries who work there, and their responsibility is to actually make sure that when those reserves and those prices are set, and the whole lot of actual work that goes on, is it actually equitable? Is it actually fair to the insurance, to the policy holder and the pension fund member? That's the role of IPEC. And you realize that when you get in the industry, you have a lot of tension with people from IPEC. People from IPEC have a lot of tension with the industry. But I think it's an issue of trying to protect the policyholder above all. In as much as we are actuaries as well, this side as a regulator, the primary goal of actuaries, even beyond regulation, should be to ensure that we have a duty and we need to serve the public. So even if you're in a company, maybe 10 years from now you've qualified, if you're in a company and your manager or your boss asks you to say the reserves you have set are too high, but you know that they're sufficient, your duty as an actuary is to maintain your ground and stand on your principle. So I think we come back to the case of Alliance once again. This is what probably happened, that the actuary might have actually said something, but because companies are generally profit chasing, we end up with a situation where we compromise our clients in that regard. Let me move on to the next slide. This slide speaks about the current dilemma. It speaks about the problem that is within the industry currently. So the transition from ZWO to ZWG to USD to bond to RTGS. So you realized in the financial services sector that as soon as all these things happen, there's a level of prejudice that comes out of it. So one of the trending topics in our industry as of now is the issue of compensation. Compensation simply means the pensions of your grandmother and grandfather. After 2009, after we switched from Zim dollar to US dollar, what happened to them? That's compensation. So it's a problem that actuaries are actually actively working on right now, which I believe is one of the most interesting problems that we have right now because it's unique to the Zimbabwean context. You won't find it in many other markets because South Africa has been using the rand for since pre its own independence. The British have been using the pound since forever, and so it's a problem that's unique to us, and it forces us to think of things that have probably do not exist in other jurisdictions. So I think this is an interesting problem. If you do have time, please read on the compensation framework and its implications. So I think this is something you should also follow up on. And then another trendy thing in the industry is IFRS 17. So for those of you who are coming from a commercial background, unlike myself, I didn't do commercials at A level. IFRS 17 is basically the love child of accounting and actuarial science. So you find that, as Gilbert earlier mentioned, the application of actuarial science is business. The goal of an actuary is to 17. IFRS 17 is a standardized way of measuring insurance companies' performances. So historically, what happened, we had what was called IFRS 4, and IFRS stands for International Financial Reporting Standard. What would happen with IFRS 4 is that there was lack of streamlining of reporting. So you'd find that if an insurance company pays money for advertising or to obtain new business, they pay commissions, they pay the agents, right? Under IFRS 4, that money would be treated very differently because you can't really tell which money went towards which contract, right? The profitability of insurance companies, actuaries all over the world sit down and say, no, guys, let's come up with something that's streamlined and that agrees with everything that can be used universally across companies. So also, if you are trying to get into the industry, I think particularly it work for people who have not yet gone to attachment or people who are still in part 1, 2, and you guys who are still applying. I think this is something that has come up at every interview that I have attended for my actual internship. So it's a very important thing for you to get to understand the terms and the rules that govern the profession that you're about to dedicate yourself to. And then, yeah, we finally got to the wider fields I've been speaking about. So traditionally, actuaries are not into banking and data science. But with the growth of, I think the one thing that I feel the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Science degree gives you is the edge in mathematical and statistical computation. So you find that when you do a degree with the usage, you're not just narrowed towards actuarial science. It's actually under the Department of Maths and Computation Science, and you actually share a lot of modules with data science. So you find that data science feeds into machine learning, feeds into artificial intelligence and whatever is going on in the global technology scene right now. So please, when you get to the University of Zimbabwe, try as much to understand what's happening within your faculty, what's happening within even finance, because you never know where you might end up. There's several actuaries or several people who studied actuarial science who did not end up taking the traditional route. What's to say about that is the degree that the University of Zimbabwe offers equips you with skills and with knowledge that transcends beyond just actuarial science or beyond just insurance, pensions, and reinsurance. So it's something that I feel it really adds value to the degree. It's really not just you're an actuary automatically. So it's something that you have to take into account when making a decision for a career and making a decision for university choice. Right. I think I'm nearing the end of my presentation. The part I had, I think there's been discourse towards artificial intelligence taking jobs, and this is a topic I love as much to speak about. I think artificial intelligence will take jobs of people who choose to adapt. Recently on LinkedIn, I was speaking to Ronald Richman, who is CEO of Insure AI. So you find that he's an actuary, he was the chief actuary of Old Mutual South Africa. You find that he left all that actuarial chief actuary at Old Mutual and he decided to start his own company. You realize that the people who learn how to leverage and ensure AI does in fact take leverage AI predictive underwriting and automated claims processing. It's basically the love child of actuarial science and actuarial science, data science, and machine learning and AI. So you find that if you choose not to adapt to changing world, you become that actuary who start working out his reserves or his life assurance values on paper. Whilst people are using Python, whilst people are using Excel, whilst people are using things that have not yet even been created. So my advice to you is to, in as much as you're studying actuarial science, you're studying technology, you're studying life. So you need to stay at the cutting edge of technology, at the cutting edge of the intersection of actuarial science and technology. So also, um, I'll always speak about regulation because I am currently attached to regulator. So there's also a change in the regulatory environment with the introduction of several frameworks that previously weren't in the Zimbabwean industry. So that's always something to look out of because as a young student, the best advantage you can have is you have time to learn. You have a lot of time on your hands. You have a lot of energy to learn. You can learn about these things. You can learn about risk-based supervision by IPA and what it means. The reason why I say you should learn these things is because with the way the actuarial industry works is when a new framework comes out, people are confused, people are in sixes and sevens. If you're that one person who's ahead of the curve and you actually understand what's going on, you have an infinite advantage and you might even get a job before you even graduate because of things like that. So to not take these conversations that we are having as something that's just information for your information, it's something for your actioning, something that you take to heart before you embark on your journey. So, ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention, your time, and your dedication to this profession. So, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. That's my email, and I think maybe Brenton, we should also provide a group link to the to a new group whereby we can speak to just um, part, I'm already calling part ones, just prospective part one students, so that we can actually get discourse and get to understand what you guys are going through and get to help you in your experiences and other things. So I think that's it from me. If you have any questions, if you have any queries, any additions or subtractions, please do feel free to talk to me. My inbox is always open. Okay, over to you, Mr. Breton, and thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Kupakwashe. And to add on what you said there at the end, I will be adding a group link in the chat for you guys to join the prospective students. All right. So to give a brief overview of what Mr. Kupakwashe was saying, there historically have been very few actuaries in Zimbabwe, but over the past few years, the number of actuaries has been growing. Right, the parent body of the actuaries working in Zimbabwe is the Actuarial Society of Zimbabwe, which was founded in 1993. Could you all confirm that you can hear me? Can you guys hear me? All right, thank you so much. So as I was saying, Kupakwashe said that actuaries, they work in various industries. They work in pensions, they work in insurance. In insurance, we have life and non-life or general insurance. We also have reinsurance. Actuaries also work in banking as well as wider fields. I think Gilbert also touched on that. Then Mr. Kupakwashe also talked about trending topics in the actuarial industry and how you have to keep up to date with all these topics if you want to remain relevant as an actuary. You have to keep up with whatever is happening, every new bit of technology, new information that's coming out. You always have to be on top of it if you want to be a good actuary. We also give the example of Alliance Insurance. I'm sure that if you open any newspaper, I think over the past week, any business section of any newspaper, I'm sure this issue was covered in there about an insurance company which was taken to court over some issue. Please do read on that. Then Mr. Kupakwashi also talked about the whole idea of artificial intelligence taking over jobs. I'm sure even in high school, you guys have started using AI. AI is now it's very ubiquitous. Everyone is using AI, right? And there's this fear that it's going to displace a lot of jobs. And I think Mr. Kupakwashi touched on that very, very nicely. Then, to quote Mr. Kupakwashi himself, he said that if you choose not to adapt, right, you become the actuary who gets left behind. And I'm very sorry. I hope all of us are taking notes because I'm taking mine over here because this is very valuable information that we're being given right here. All right. I hope you're all taking notes. So as an actuary, it's very important for you to keep up with whatever is happening because if you don't do that, you become left behind. If you want to be an actuary, you have to be a lifelong learner. You have to be willing to constantly learn new things and adapt to whatever changes are happening. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Kupakwashi. Right now we have two speakers left, two panelists left who will be speaking shortly. And unfortunately, because our time has moved very fast, we no longer have much time on our side. They are going to have to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. So Mrs. Kuzwakwashi and Nishazashi, very unfortunately. And I also think that this is the part of our meeting that most of you guys were looking forward to. These two speakers are going to be speaking about their interview and psychometric chess experiences, how they went, how they prepared for them, and any tips that they may have for you. Right. So a bit of history. The whole process of interviewing and psychometric chess at the University of Zimbabwe started in 2024. So I myself, I'm a second year student, and I enrolled in 2024. My class was the first class at the University of Zimbabwe to get interviewed to get a place at the UZ. Right. So prior to this, they went in interviews. So Nitazase is also going to be covering on that because she recently got enrolled. She's in her first year. So she also got interviewed as well as Kupakwashi, as well as Kuzwakwashi. So they are going to be giving you their experiences, how their interviews went, how they prepared for those interviews and psychometric chess, and any tips that they may have for you. Right now, I'm going to be giving over the platform to Kuzwakwashi Mchirewesi. Kuzwakwashi is a second year student at the University of Zimbabwe. She is the current chief editor of the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society. She's someone who's very passionate about the actuarial science profession, and she's going to be sharing with you guys how her interview process and the psychometric test went, and any tips that she may have for you. So over to you, Mrs. Kuzwapash.
Thank you, Brenton. I hope you all can hear me. So I'm going to be covering the psychometric test part. Okay, thank you for the reactions. So what are psychometric tests? These are standardized assessments used to measure a person's personality traits, behavioral tendencies, amongst others. We have what we call the ability tests, which are quite common in actuarial science. They measure things like numerical reasoning, the main part of actuarial science, logical and diagrammatic reasoning. Because in the psychometric tests, you're going to be given graphs to interpret, you're going to be given graphs to analyze, right? So the tests assess data interpretation, ratios, financial calculations, etc. In these tests, they're going to be assessing your analytical ability, attention to detail, and also decision making under time pressure. For example, when we went for the tests, we were given 20 minutes to write things, and there were a lot of things. So you need to check on your speed. You also need to check on what your analytical ability and able to work under pressure. Are you able to work under pressure? Because given 20 minutes with 5 paragraphs of questions, it's quite less of what time, yes. So what you need speed, you need strategy and accuracy when doing the psychometric tests. These tests are designed to assess whether you can handle the analytical demands of the actuarial program that you want to apply for. For the step-by-step preparation, this is what I got. What you need to master mental mathematics speeds like ratios, calculating interest, calculating discounts, etc. You need to be mathematically strong. You also need to practice under timed conditions. You can start by practicing before the date for the interview. You can start by practicing maybe on YouTube. You find sites that offer psychometric tests for actuarial science. You also need to learn common question patterns. These patterns, you learn them from websites on YouTube. If you check on the flyer, the poster that we sent, there were quite a number of websites that are there to help and guide you during the psychometric test practices. And also, you need to improve your logical reasoning. As an actuary, we think logically. We also use analytical skills. You do not just think, you use analysis. Yes. So I think that's all for the psychometric test. Do not panic. They are not hard. You're mathematicians, so it won't be hard for you guys. And remember to be calm always, and all the best in your interviews, in your application processes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Msirewesi. That was very powerful. Kuzawakwashe touched on the psychometric test, the procedures to the psychometric test, how she handled hers, and tips for you guys to attack yours. So I remember when I set for my psychometric test back in 2020 in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Uh there was a math section, and I think in English section where there were like comprehension passages or something like that. And I remember I was overwhelmed so much that I couldn't finish the whole test. And I obviously became scared that I would not find a place to use it, that I wouldn't get admitted. But that wasn't the case. So to you guys, I hope you prepare sufficiently. And if things don't go well in the test or in the interviews, don't lose hope. You may always get a place. All right. Thank you so much again, Mrs. Kuzwakwashe. Next up, we are going to be having Nyashadzashe Chigariro. She is a current first year student. She enrolled at the University of Zimbabwe in 2025, so very recently. She is also the Vice Secretary of the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society. She is going to be sharing with you experiences in the interviews to getting admitted at the UZ. Over to you, Mrs. Nyashadzashe.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Confirm you can hear me clearly, please. Okay. So basically, the interview process, just as my colleague was sharing, it's nothing to be afraid of. You can actually do it. So when we went, I'll first share my experiences, and then I'll be sharing some tips as I go along. First divided into groups, and then we went into the interviews. So basically, you have to know the interview etiquette. Firstly, you have to dress appropriately. You have to dress according to the occasion that you're going to. And in an interview setup, first impressions, they always make the impression. They make the lasting impression. So you have to make sure that you make a very good first impression by the way that you dress. Make sure that you're dressed formally. Please dress formally. There is no excuse for not finding any formal dressing. Just dress formally so that you can scoop up the maximum amount of marks that you can get. So either a formal jacket, a formal t-shirt. Just make sure that you are dressed formally for ladies and for both gents. And then firstly, when you go into an interview room, make sure that you knock the door. And before you interview the questions, you wait for you to be offered the seat. In an interview, you just don't get in and then you just sit and then you just offer yourself a seat and then you just go. So that's the first thing in an interview. You wait to be offered the seat, you just don't sit. And then when they offer you a seat and then you sit down, you usually wait for the interviewers to ask you the question. It might be a panel or it might be one single person, but make sure that you greet them in the morning. Good morning, sir or ma'am. If it's in the afternoon, good afternoon, sir or ma'am. And then from then onwards, you wait for the interview questions that they ask you. So in interviews, one thing that I've maybe a few things that I've composed. There is nothing to be afraid of. Those interviewers, they are people. Not to say that you should take them lightly, but they are people just like you. So, and they want to hear about you. They want to hear from you. They want to know they want to know about you. So there is nothing to be afraid of. If you're a person who sometimes panics, I would advise that you take a deep breath so that you might calm down. You put yourself together, and then you tell yourself that these are people. They just want to know about you. So there is no need for you to rush. There's no need for you to panic. When they ask you questions, make sure that you are attentive. You listen to the question, and then you think about how you're going to answer the question. It's very important for you to answer the question. Listen to the question and then answer the I remember when the first question that I was asked was, introduce yourself, tell us about yourself. So this is an interview for you to get admission. So try to be academic and try to be professional as you can. You can talk about the high school that you went to, the subjects that you did at A level. Maybe if you had any leadership positions, maybe you were prefect, maybe you were head girl, maybe you were part of any clubs. You have to mention that because that is what you are. That is the professional side of you. So you have to mention that I accomplished this. I was at this school, and then maybe mention one or two hobbies that you have when they ask you about yourself. And then don't try as much as you can to avoid unnecessary information when they ask you about who you are. Just go straight to the point and tell them about your academic and professional qualifications. And then the second question, so the interview questions, they might also ask quantitative questions like statistics questions, because I remember in my interview, they actually asked me a statistical question, and there was also a bit of finance. So you have to maybe revise a bit. You don't stress yourself. It's just basic stuff that they'll ask you, but make sure that you know the basic stuff. So it's those little things that will determine whether you get enrolled or you don't get enrolled. So make sure that you have basic knowledge of statistics, basic knowledge of economics, whether you did sciences or you did commercials at A level. Make sure that you have basic knowledge of probability of statistics so that you won't be found wanting in the interview. And yeah, basically that's what they will ask you during the interview process. So you have to be very confident. And one thing that you also have to do is prepare accordingly. So interviews are not things that you do impromptu. You have to be prepared. So for the interview, you can go on various websites and then you search typical interviews, maybe for admission, for actuarial science, and make sure you're confident. Make sure you are confident. And as I said, they are just people. They do the regular things that you do. So you have to know, I am talking to a person. There is nothing to be afraid of. Be composed. I repeat, be composed. Make sure you know about your program. Yeah, that's something that is very important. They're going to ask you questions. Why did you choose actuarial science? Why did you choose financial mathematics over other degrees? So make sure that you know about your program and make sure that you show the enthusiasm for actuarial science. You have to show. Showing someone and telling them is different. So you have to show the enthusiasm that no, this is what I wanted. You have to show the enthusiasm. You see, you have to really when you get out of that interview room, the interviewer should know this person really knows what they want, and we want this person in our department. We want this person in our faculty. So you have to show enthusiasm for your program so that you have the passion for of yourself or any doubt in the decision that you made, because once you do that, your application might be completely ruled out. So make sure that you express enthusiasm and you show that you are passionate about your program, and make sure that you know very well about the program, because I remember in my interview, they actually asked me what is actuarial science. So if you haven't done much research, if you haven't gone further with finding out what actuarial science is about, you're going to stumble. You're going to stammer when they ask you that question. So make sure that you know the fields that actuaries work, or maybe your goal is not to be an actuary. What you intend to do with that actuarial science degree. You might even go as further as researching how your degree is going to help, is going to assist in achieving Vision 2030. So make sure that you are proactive, and then you find out about all that information and be ready for the interviews. As I conclude, interviews are nothing to be afraid of. Just make sure that you prepare accordingly. Be confident. If we could do it, then so can you. Even about language or anything, be confident. There is nothing afraid. The people that are going to interview you are people. Don't take them for granted. Respect them, but know that you're talking to a person, and there's nothing to be afraid of. Be confident, research, prepare accordingly. Don't spend the whole night cramming interview questions. No, that's not the way to go. Just know who you are, be proactive, research, take deep breaths, relax, and practice, dress accordingly. I think that's it for me. Over to you, Cooper. Over to you, Brenton.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Nyasha Zashe. I think Nyasha over here said it all. I think everything that you guys came on this meeting to hear, I think she said it all. Thank you so much again, Mrs. Nyasha Zashe. She's a first-year student, Vice Secretary of the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society. Thank you again. A brief rundown of what she was talking about. In the interview, it's important to dress appropriately. It's first impression always matters as well. It's important to abide by interview etiquette. It's important to knock the door as you enter. It's important to wait for the interviewers to offer you a seat before you sit down. It's also important for you to greet them when you enter the interview room, etc., etc. And obviously also the non-technical staff. It's important to be confident. Confidence above all else, I think, is the most important factor when going into interviews. If you exude confidence, I think even if you don't speak well, if your answers aren't very close to the truth or what they want to hear, if you show that you are confident, that can override all of that. That can overshadow all of that, and it may altogether increase your chances of getting admitted. Thank you so much to everyone who is here. Thank you so much for joining our meeting. This was an information session for the prospective class of 2030. So guys who are applying this year, 2026, to get admitted into the Actuarial Science program at the UZ, I hope you all found it very informational. I hope you found bits and pieces of information which are going to help you in your application journeys. And I hope that each and every person who attended this meeting is going to get accepted at UZ. And hopefully in the very near future, you're all going to be fully qualified actuaries. And this meeting hopefully is going to play a role in helping you towards achieving that. Finally, I'd like to just share a bit of advice, if I may put it that way, that I think may help you. I remember when I went for my interviews back in 2024, as Nyasha said, it's important to dress accordingly. I remember I was wearing a white hoodie. I still have that hoodie even up to this day. I was wearing a hoodie and I think some jeans and some sneakers, which was very inappropriate for an interview. And I remember the first thing my interviewer said is that and that put me off balance because there's someone who was already scared. I was very anxious, being told that because I wasn't wearing something appropriate, I should go home. That put me even further off balance. And if you come dressed appropriately, that will give you confidence going into the interview room. So it's important to dress accordingly. Then as she also mentioned being fully versed in the technical stuff. So your maths, especially your A-level maths, your states, and maybe some financial stuff. I remember I was asked a technical question around, I think it was the sequences and series. I think it was a quadratic sequence or something like that. And I remember I couldn't solve it because I was very anxious. I wasn't my mind wasn't very settled in that interview room. I was confused, and I remember before I could even give the answer, the interviewer said something like, "You can stop. I can really see if you're going to get it or not," which further made me even more anxious. It put me even more off balance. So it's important, again, as I said, to be confident throughout the entire interview. It's important that you show them that you are prepared for the interview as well. Nyasha also mentioned that you can go on the internet and look for websites where you can find information or material to help you prepare for your interviews. And I also think that if you maybe don't have access to the internet, you can maybe ask a relative or maybe a friend to help you with a mock interview. You can set up interview questions. So the basic ones will you introduce yourself, why do you want to apply for this program, and they can interview you. They can ask you those questions in an interview sort of setting, and you can prepare your answers to those questions. Because if you go into the interview without preparing for those questions and you hear them for the first time, that can be confusing, and it can altogether just put you off balance. And that's not something you would want. Then finally, I'd like to urge you guys to be fully aware of the current affairs happening in the actual industry. I think Kupakwashi touched on that, the IFRIS, the Alliance insurance stuff, and also Vision 2030 is mentioned by Mr. Zashi. It's important for you to be fully aware of those kind of stuff. I think they will ask you those stuff as well. So it's important for you to know those stuff. But again, as I said, confidence above all else. It's important for you to be confident, right? It's important for you to practice your breath works, breathe. If you are maybe your heart is beating too fast, it's important to breathe. Don't pressurize yourself. Take your time when you're answering. I think they also tell you these things if you maybe showing that you're very anxious. So you should take your time. It's important to be confident, to be calm as you respond. Right. I think this is all that I have for you guys. Thank you so much for coming again. I think when you guys come for your interviews, I think we'll all be there at the University of Zimbabwe. I think Gilbert, maybe when you guys finally enroll, I think in August, Gilbert will no longer be a student at the UZ. You would have, I think, graduated by then. But the rest of us will still be at the UZ, and we can't wait to meet all of you guys. So again, thank you so much for coming. We hope that you found this session very informational, and we hope that it will help you in your application journeys, and hopefully you all get admitted at the UZ. I see Tanaka over there is raising a hand. You're free to turn on your mic and ask your question, Tanaka.
I'm sorry, it was a mistake.
Okay, that's all right.
I have no questions.
That's okay. That's okay. So if there's anyone with any questions, our speakers are very impatiently waiting for you to ask any burning questions that you may have. This is your time to ask those questions. It's important for you guys to seek clarification. Yes, Tadiwana Ashe, you can ask your question.
Okay, thank you. So basically, I wanted to ask about the Actuarial Society of Zimbabwe. Like, does it help you to like get opportunity after your degree, or maybe like if you're going to attachment, or they just give you like career guidance, Actuarial Science?
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Kupakwashe. So to answer your question, yes, the Actuarial Society of Zimbabwe does offer career guidance to students, to members. So there's different forms of membership in the AZ. So there's membership for qualified actuaries, for non-qualified but students who are still writing the exams, and also for university students. So they offer different forms of benefits to the students. And part of those benefits are these mentorship sessions that you're talking about. We, as the University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society, we also offer these mentorship sessions to our members. So when you finally enroll at the UZ, you are going to be benefiting from these mentorship sessions, but as well as the AZ as well, they will also be offering these sessions. I don't know if any of our panel members would like to add anything to what I just said. Okay, I'll take that as a no. Is there anyone else with any burning question, anything they'd like to ask, especially around the interviews? Because I know they can be quite unnerving. They can be quite anxiety inducing. They can make you very uncomfortable. Is there anything you'd like to know, or maybe that's all for today? Okay, then, seeing as no one is responding, okay, Tadwana Shi again, you've raised your hand. You can speak.
Okay, thank you again. I wanted to ask if psychometric tests is the same day as you take the interviews.
Okay, that's a very That's a very important question to ask. So regarding the psychometric tests and your interviews, you are going to have them on the same day, right? You are going to have them on the same day. And some people say that the reason for this is to sort of put pressure on you for you guys to have a lot of things to do on the same day. Imagine coming from a psychometric test and maybe you didn't do well and you know that you have to go into an interview again. That may sort of put you off balance. But that's the way it's done at the UZ. Usually what happened with us is that we had our psychometric test in the morning. The first thing we arrived with our psychometric test for I think about an hour or 2 hours. Then after that, we immediately went to the Faculty of Science where we were interviewed. So from psychometric tests, we go to your interviews. So it all happens on the same day. To answer your question, do you have anything else you'd like to ask, or anyone else? Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else? Any question that you'd like to ask? Now is the time. Okay, thank you so much, Delight. Thank you so much, everyone who attended this meeting. We thank you so much, and we hope that you all found value in what was shared here today. Thank you so much as well to our wonderful panelists, Gilbert, Kupakwashe, Kuzowakwashe, and Yahazashe. Thank you all so much for taking time off your schedules to be with us, to be with these prospective students here and giving them these volumes of information, which I hope and pray will be very helpful in your application journeys and will help you increase your chances of getting admitted into the actuarial program at the UZ. Thank you so much again, and have a lovely night. This marks the end of our meeting. Thank you so much. And a quick reminder before we go, we have the link to our WhatsApp group for you guys for the prospective class. You can join the link. I think some of you have already joined. Then also finally, we are going to be uploading this meeting to our YouTube channel. So you can just search University of Zimbabwe Actuarial Society. I think you'll see it on our channel. If you have any friends or relatives who are also applying who were unfortunately not able to attend, you can share that link with them and they can see and get to hear what we were talking about, and maybe they can find help in the stuff that we shared in this meeting today. Thank you so much again. Have a lovely night.
Thank you, Brenton.